All right, today's topic really should come with a trigger warning because I see so many of you getting very emotional and all up in your feelings about it on threads, going back and forth with redundant arguments. This video is going to be the definitive, ultimate, no bullshit, no compromise answer to the question, should you work for free? And the answer to that question, 9 times out of 10, is a big no, with exceptions, which I will cover later on in the video, so please keep watching, don't turn away. I have a lot to say about the subject. I've written it all down. I brought the big boy mic with me because I didn't want to rely on the lav. And please don't mind me if you see me like darting back and forth to my script and my notes. It's a lot to cover, and I'm really not in the fucking mood to try to memorize it today. So let's begin. The first reason, and the most obvious one, is that you're lowering the floor to the industry and you're just kind of ruining it for everyone. When you work for free, you're not doing a favor. You are sending a signal. And that signal says like, hey, this work really isn't worth all that much. It doesn't require a ton of skill, effort, time, emotional investment, experience. No, we're willing to give it away for free as long as, you promise me an Instagram tag. That's what you're saying. And when enough people do that, the signal becomes the standard. And you might be thinking to yourself, bro, it's just one gig. I'll do it for exposure. It might be good. But there's 1,000 of you in a local market, all with the same thought process. And that just kind of brings the threshold down for everyone. And then when clients come to someone like me, who charges fair rates, charges value for my experience, for my track record of success, of getting shit done on time and on budget, I end up looking like the crazy scammer because they're comparing me to all of you out there. Now, I can already hear quite a few of you coming at me saying something like, bro, if you're getting punked by cheaper photographers, that's on you. Like, Ferrari doesn't worry about what Toyota is doing. You're not distinguishing your value enough or separating yourself enough. And look, in a perfect world, I with that analogy. I really do. I spent years not losing sleep over cheaper photographers because there was always a clear line in the sand between photographers who don't charge shit and their work reflects it, and people who charge and their work reflects it. The problem is that a lot of you are now actually pretty fucking good. There's some of you that are actually really, really good photographers, and you're approaching clients who have the resources, the money, and the experience to pay more. I've had 3 different clients in the last year who have said some variation of the same thing, of the following, like, bro, your work is great, and, we understand that comes with a cost, but, this guy, he's not quite as good as you, but he's doing it for 40% less, and my boss is insisting on going with him because it's cheaper. And look, man, my hands are tied. No hard feelings. The real issue with free work comes down to the concept of perceived value. And when you train the market to expect top shelf liquor for the cost of a soda, well, even the bottle of Louis XIII on the top shelf starts to look crazy and overpriced. This one has more to do with undercharging than outright free work, but it's just as important. You might think that you're increasing your chances of getting a gig by coming in with a super low ball offer. Like, yo, if I come in way under budget, they got to pick me, right? Right? No, actually, if you do that, you might as well just tattoo a giant red flag on your forehead. Because if you're pitching to someone who actually has experience buying art, who has managed productions, and who's been in the game for a while, they know how much shit costs. So if they are looking at a project that they know should cost between $20,000 and $30,000 based on experience, but you come in saying you're going to do it for 5 or 10, they're going to know right away that you are full of shit and you've never done this before. They're going to be like, nope, this guy has no idea what he's doing and I'm not risking my job to deal with that bullshit. I'm sorry, but you don't look like a bargain. You actually look like a liability, because anyone who knows the true cost of production knows that you can't do it at a certain level for that cheap, and they're not going to risk their reputation, their job, and their client relationships on a wild card who doesn't seem to grasp the concepts of basic production. I've actually won jobs precisely because the other people bidding charged too low and the client knew better. Like they knew that a multi-day shoot with a crew of 6 and multiple deliverables should be more than $5,000. Pricing is positioning, and if you come in too low, you are telling people that you've never done this before, that you might look lost on set, or that you might cut corners, and nobody wants to babysit that. So be careful about charging too low, because if you price yourself like an amateur, you might accidentally convince people that that's what you are. Reason number 3, and anyone with experience can verify this. The cheapest clients are often the most annoying and difficult to work with. It is pretty much an industry standard pattern at this point. They micromanage like hell. They ghost you during pre-production, and then they call you the night before panicking, wanting to change the schedule. They want a full re-edit because their cousin or their dog or their 7-year-old daughter is giving them notes on the edit. And then when it's finally all done, they want to change the music. And then they act like they're doing you a favor. Even when you have boundaries firmly in place with contracts and estimates and such, they look at them more like guidelines rather than enforceable. The clients that I have that actually pay my rates, they look at the service agreement that I give them as a blueprint. And before they ask for any kind of changes or add-ons or revisions, they're usually looking for a revised or what's known as an amendment to the contract versus just expecting you to bend over and do it for free. Like there's this reassurance that comes with working with clients who pay the right rates because they understand the process a little bit better, or at the very least, they're more empathetic, like I guess logical really. They understand like, well, that wasn't in the scope of work, so if we want it, we might have to pay more for it. Like they get that. Cheap clients, it doesn't compute. It's like there's something missing. And it makes sense if you think about it from a psychological perspective. When you give away shit for free or at a heavy discount, you are telling people, intentionally or not, this is not worth that much. And if you don't value your time, why should anyone else? That's just human nature. It's not because they're evil. It's just because we're inclined to value the things that we pay for, and the things that we get for free feel disposable. And here's the kicker. Here's all of it. Even if you do get the project, you're probably going to regret doing it. You are going to resent the work, and it's going to bleed into your creative energy. You're going to resent the client. Even if they're nice people, you're going to sense the imbalance every time they try to ask you to bend over backward for something that wasn't initially agreed upon. You're going to burn yourself out because these projects, they're going to drag on. And suddenly all those hours that you've invested are going to feel like lost opportunity cost that could have been spent doing literally anything else that would have been more productive. And you might sign yourself up for more of the same because these people, they might recommend you to their friends, but their friends are probably just as cheap as they are, and they're going to expect the same discount for the same level of work, investment, and energy. So congratulations. You're the go-to guy for all the cheap Round of applause. Let's be real for a second. Most client work is not that sexy. It doesn't really fulfill you creatively. It's corporate headshots. It's product photos in a studio environment. It's content on Instagram with like 5 different logos and 11 rounds of legal back and forth before it gets approved. And that's fine. That's great. If it pays, like if it pays the bills, no harm, no foul. But if it's not creatively fulfilling and it's not filling your checkbook, what the fuck are we doing it for? Can you answer that? So the next time someone hits you up with, well, we don't really got a budget, but we'd love to collaborate, ask yourself if you're ready to pour all of your creative energy, emotional investment, the gear that you've spent money on, and hours of manual labor in exchange for irreparable damage to your industry, no money, and no creatively fulfilling work. Reason number 4, the bullshit promises of quid pro quo. One of my favorites, one of my personal favorites. I think this is one of the main reasons why people get suckered into doing free work, because I think deep down, We all want to believe in the goodness of our fellow man, that what we put into the universe is reciprocated with kindness and energy and all that hippie granola bullshit. We've all heard it before, the false promises of people crying poverty and promising to make it up later. Yo, bro, I got 10 other friends in this industry. I'm going to give them all your name. They're all going to hit you up for work. You're going to be so busy. You're going to be drowning in work if you just do me this solid one time. I hate to break it to you, but people tend to hang out with people just like them. That means people in similar socioeconomic circles with similar values, etc. So chances are they're full of shit, but even if they're not, the people that are hitting you up are going to be just as broke or just as cheap as the people asking for the discount. Like I already covered this before, but you're just going to be inviting the same caliber of client. So don't do that. Don't fall for that shit. Or stop it. You've heard this one before. Listen, bro, I don't got much budget now, but we got big shit coming, like bigger projects. We're going to have more budget and you'll see we're going to take care of you, man. You're like, we're going to build something together. Like I always reward people who stuck with me. Yada, yada, yada. You know how many times that has actually yielded any kind of fruit? Zero. None. Never. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. Those people are either going to go out of business, they're going to find someone else to do their shit for free once you get tired of it, or, yeah, you know what? They might blow up and they might actually be in a position to pay $20,000 for photography. But when that day comes, they're not going to hire you. They're going to hire the guy who charges $20,000 for photography. Which brings me to my fifth and final point. You cannot turn a $500 client into a $5,000 client. It is impossible. It's not going to happen. Once you have established the value of your product or service, it is almost psychologically impossible to update it in people's minds at a later time. Like they're stuck with that perception. You see, because free work is not seen as a generosity, it's seen as a baseline. That's why you might, for example, order a pizza from some random place you've never tried before if they've got like a 50% Groupon. But then when that normal price of $25 for that pizza is the standard, you're not going to buy that pizza again. You're probably just going to look for another Groupon on Yelp. Like you're not going to give those people a chance. We've all done that, right? I remember when I mostly shot real estate photography for like $350 and $1,000 for a video. I didn't know any better, but even at those cheap ass rates, I was getting so much pushback all the time. Clients were constantly nickel and diming me with every bullshit excuse in the book about why they needed something to be cheaper. And me, I was such a little bitch in my 20s that I was agreeing to it. I was finding my own excuses to justify it. I was trying to be a nice person. I thought maybe I was planting the seeds to some good relationships that would bear fruit down the line. And you know what? All I did was just make it easier for them to ask and to expect it. Their budgets never went up. They're not going to go up, at least not for you. I remember one day when it really, really dawned on me. I was showing up to these, houses worth $20 million. And it's like, wait a minute. The owner of this house is rich as fuck. The potential buyer for this house is rich as fuck. The agent is showing up in an Aston Martin and wearing a $5,000 suit. And I'm showing up in a Hyundai and leaving drenched in sweat. I should not be the one giving discounts in this equation. Nobody should be giving free or discounted work to people who can more than afford to fucking pay you. So stop simping and dick riding for these fucking brands on IG. Stop tagging them, inviting them to use your shit for free. I promise you, Ludacris can pay for his own fucking photography. So can BMW. So can Apple. I promise you, these millionaires are going to be okay. They don't need your fucking charity. They're hoarding enough cash from all the fucking taxes they're avoiding. So no, you're not going to network your way into shooting a commercial campaign because you agreed to shoot an event in Miami for $500 that's sponsored by Ferrari and Amnesia Vodka with your ugly ass on camera flash and unmotivated gimbal moves. People who go to the Met Gala do not shop at Target for their tuxes. When it's time to shoot that global campaign, they or their agency that they work with are going to hit up a list of trusted, vetted creatives with the right branding, market position, and track record of producing the high quality work that these people expect. So charge appropriately for that event and then take that money and go make something, a spec ad or some personal work that looks like it was shot for $30,000, and use that to leverage your brand and build something that attracts the kind of clients who are going to pay that kind of money for that work. Ain't nobody going to settle for a Honda when they're shopping for a Bentley. Think about it. When your ass is broke and you need to eat something cheap, you go to McDonald's, right? You know it's not the best food, but who cares? It's cheap and it fills your stomach, right? But then you've got money for a fine dining experience, or at least for some real food. Are you going to go back to Mickey D's and be like, yo, appreciate you guys for all those $5 meals. Wouldn't be here without you. Let me pay it forward. Let me pay $100 for this Big Mac. Nobody fucking does that. No, you go to a Michelin-starred restaurant with a dry-aged tomahawk steak that costs more than your first camera. You flex about it on IG because that's what people do when they're ready to level up. They don't reward budget brands and their loyalty. They seek new luxury experiences with credibility. There's this restaurant in Miami that I go to almost every week. It's called Yambo. You get a big ass plate of rice and carne asada for like $15. And it's a great value. And I go there every week because it's a great value. And if they started charging like they were Prime 112, I probably would not go back. Or think about your first apartment, right? You got your furniture at IKEA because it's cheap, it's disposable. It doesn't really matter if it's that nice or if it doesn't match anything else. It's just sawdust and wood chippings or flakes or whatever. So if it breaks or your buddy spills beer on it, no big deal, right? But then you level up in life. You start making some real money. Maybe you meet a girl, maybe you move in with her. And suddenly your taste in furniture evolves. You want something nice. You want something that matches your lifestyle, that says something about your personality. Something that might actually last for more than one move. Are you going to go back to IKEA? No. You're going to go to a real furniture store. Or hell, if you're really fucking bougie and ready to level up, you might get something custom made from some like craftsman in the middle of like Idaho who's going to cut down, or maybe like has a big ass oak tree that's 300 years old that falls on his property and has some douchey name like the Spirit of the Mountain. And that craftsman, he's going to fucking woo you with this bullshit song and dance about quality that lasts a lifetime and a family heirloom that you can pass down for generations. And you're going to eat that shit up. And what are you going to do with that tiny room table? You're going to keep it clean, right? You're not going to let your idiot buddies play beer pong on it, right? And let's say one weekend you do want to get ratchet and you do want to play beer pong. You're going to pull the old ping pong table out of the garage and you're going to use it for that. You see where I'm getting at? You are the old ping pong table in this scenario. They will call you when they want a cheap content creator booty call with work that doesn't really mean anything, but as soon as they need results and something of quality, they're going to call someone else, and it's going to happen every single time. I hate to be so cynical, but I gotta be real. People will wax poetically all day long with this warm, fuzzy nonsense. Like, I always look out for those who were with me from the start, my OGs. When I blow up, I'm going to take my day ones with me. Yeah, cool story, bro. To quote the late, great George Carlin, it's all bullshit, folks, and it's bad for you. I'm going to give you the truth. When real money enters the picture, when a brand signs that 6-figure deal or a marketing team gets a really massive budget, loyalty gets real quiet. Suddenly, it's not about who was there when times were tough. It's about who looks the part right now. Because once they get those budgets, they're not going to risk losing them by hiring the unknown wild card just because, I don't know, you might have shot a birthday party for them for free 5 years ago. Or maybe when they were first starting out, you gave them some product photos and you didn't charge the right license for them to have paid ads on Instagram with, and you screwed yourself over for that, they're not going to give a fuck about that if they still view you as the cheap content creator. Okay, but I can hear so many of you now, oh, but Christian, how am I supposed to charge for work if I don't have a portfolio? How am I supposed to gain experience? Who's going to hire me if I've never done it before? I get it. I hear you. Like, the reality is that sometimes free work is necessary, and sometimes it's just something you want to do, and that's okay. There are just ways to do it right without getting taken advantage of and without screwing the entire industry in the process. First, there's charity. Look, if you want to go to the dog shelter and take pictures of puppies so that they get adopted for free, man, God bless you. Go fucking do it. That's a great cause, right? But just be careful. Like, don't let the nonprofit status of these charities fool you into thinking that they don't have money to pay for shit. As someone who's actually done work for these nonprofits, I can assure you, a lot of them have really massive endowments and they raise millions of dollars in fundraisers. And actually, the work I make for them is designed to raise even more money. So charity is a choice. It's not a standard baseline rate. Just keep that in mind. Now, the other thing to consider is making the distinction between free work for yourself and free work for someone else. Free work for yourself is the single best type of free work that you can ever do. I have said it in a bunch of other videos and I will keep saying it. Personal projects are the best investment that you can make in your career, better than any type of gear, conference, course, etc. When you shoot something that you love, something that you believe in, something that amplifies your voice, you are creating something that inspires people. You are sharpening your technical skills and you're broadening your creative horizons. Like, this is the type of stuff that actually moves people. That's going to make a creative director pause in his tracks and be like, yo, who shot this? I want to know. Now, look, they might hire you to shoot something that's a little bit more basic and boring, but hey, you're getting paid good money for that, right? So one for the real, one for the meal, as they say. Okay, but what about free work for other people? Let's say you're a headshot photographer. You need a portfolio, right? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to walk into a local community college, you're going to hit them up, and you're going to offer to do headshots for all the theater students who are all broke as fuck and they aren't going to pay you anyway. And they all need it. It's something they're all going to need. The ones who move on to do it professionally, to act professionally, their agents are going to tell them that, they need to invest in headshots. Then they're going to go hit up Peter Hurley for $3,000 to do them. But in the meantime, you're fulfilling your portfolio. You can get friends, family, acquaintances. Everybody needs a good headshot. You shouldn't have any trouble finding people. What you're not going to do is walk into a real estate office and offer free headshots to a brokerage full of agents earning six figures. They can pay and they should pay. And when you give it away, you're not helping. You're actually undercutting someone else who could have landed that gig at a full rate and, paid their bills that month. So don't do that. Now, let's say that you already have an established business. Maybe you have a video production business and you just want to level up. So you want to do some mini documentaries. You have a buddy who owns a brewery or someone who works at one, and you want to do something, a collaboration. Great, do that. But establish upfront that the creative control is yours, because the second that they start dictating the creative and the terms and all that shit, it becomes client work and you're not getting paid for it and you're compromising on the creativity. So what the fuck are you getting out of it, right? If you want to give them an edit down the line that's more aligned to their tastes, because you're a nice person, I leave that up to you. The only thing that I ask is that you send an invoice for the whole project that reflects the actual value, so that they understand that, like, free work is not a baseline rate. It is a choice that you made. Now, let's say that you've reached the point where you're financially stable. You have the luxury of time, of declining or accepting the jobs that come your way based on whether you feel like doing them. Congratulations. You're in a great place. And if at that point you just want to do passion projects, like if you want to help your buddy, film his feature film in any way you can, if you want to help your wife start a scented candle business and shoot content for her for free, like, fucking do it. Like, showing up for the people that we love with our skill sets, that's the dream. Look, I did it just last week. I gaffed a mini documentary for a couple of friends. I'm not really a gaffer, but I did it for a rate that's way below what I normally would because I got some new Godox mirrors that I wanted to try out, and I thought it would be fun to just focus on lighting, on creating a look, and not have to worry and deal with the client and all that bullshit. And it was an excuse to hang out with my friends. All great reasons. But here's the thing. Had I declined that gig, they wouldn't have gone and hired a real gaffer at like a full rate. They probably would have just like figured it out and shot with what they had. I wasn't taking food out of anyone's mouth by taking that gig. And that's the difference that you understand, that you need to understand. So I'm going to leave you with this one final question. Why do you think that brands, businesses, and individuals want production work done? You think they do it for the art? You think Budweiser is in it for the art? No. They do it to buy your attention and influence your actions, to drive sales and to shift public opinion. And you know what? It fucking works. That's why it's always in demand. And if someone is spending $20,000 on photo or video, you can bet your ass they're probably going to spend at least $200,000 promoting it on the ad spend, getting the word out there. So I beg you, treat your work with the same love and respect that these companies treat theirs. You're not a charity. Go get paid.